Welcome back to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast on BuckeyeScoop.com. It is Wednesday, July 15th, and we had a plan for this show, but we're going to have to alter it a little bit because of some news last night. But first, we'll get to our panel today. It is myself, Marc Givler, with Bill Greene, but we also have Mick Walker on the podcast today. Mick was with us on Saturday at the UC Elite Underclassmen camp and has also been on the road as usual, so we'll get with him here in a minute. But first, I want to jump into kind of the news of the day, which is that four-star cornerback Jordan Hancock, longtime Ohio State target, kind of been right at the top of their cornerback board, kind of a 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it, at the top of their cornerback board for a very long time. Did decommit from Clemson last night. Ohio State's been in really heavy pursuit there for a long time. We've been confident lately that there was momentum there. I'm not so sure we thought it would be this quickly in terms of when this decommitment might take place, but it has now happened. Bill, just, kind of your first initial thoughts on this.
I was surprised, even though I've had him on every one of my best guest lists for Ohio State for 2021. I've had him on those lists, going back probably to March or April. But I was surprised the way things went down last night. I thought it would take an official visit where he would defy Dabo directly, his no-visit policy, and he would come visit Ohio State. And I thought that would be the exclamation point at the end of the sentence for him. But, he went ahead and did it last night and decommitted, which definitely sets the stage for a commitment to Ohio State that I expect. And again, I'm never good at when. I try to concentrate on, who they're going to get and where kids are going to go, but I never know when they're going to decide to make it public. I think Ohio State is aware that they're going to get Jordan Hancock, and I think that's all that counts right now. I have him absolutely 100% in the class after talking to some people late last night. And like I say, other than the surprise of it happening yesterday, I felt good all along about them getting him because he loved Ohio State from the beginning. I was surprised by the commitment to Clemson because I knew how much he loved Ohio State. And that seemed rushed and hurried. And I don't know. I just never bought that the commitment to Clemson was going to last. I never bought it.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see some drama, September, October, he would come up on a visit and that would kickstart everything. And so I was always confident that Ohio State had a real good chance there. But I'm with you. I'm a little surprised that it happened during this dead period. But it's been building toward that. I guess we should have been paying closer attention to the timing when you talk about, just the back and forth with the other Ohio State guys on Twitter, and just the fact that, what we've reported on the site, what you've been reporting for a while, that he's talking to the coaches, he's talking to the commits. So I'm with you. I thought it would take a visit to kind of, blow this thing open. But now it looks like it may not even get to visits. That's another topic for another day if we'll even have visits in the fall, but it may not even get to that September, October timeframe we were talking about. This may just get done here this summer. So that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah. And Marc, doesn't this kind of lend a little more clarity to the Devontae Smith situation where, I think the commits and the Ohio State coaches they felt really good about landing Jordan Hancock all along. And I think Devontae clearly knew that Ohio State wanted Jordan and knew Ohio State was in great shape with Jordan. And I think the Jordan Hancock situation definitely played a part in Devontae Smith when he talked about, being too many guys in the DB room when a lot of those guys were safeties. Now it makes a little bit of sense that maybe Devontae Smith knew before we knew, and that's why he kind of jumped ship.
Yeah, I think definitely there was the component there of I don't think the Devontae Smith thing happens when it happened if there was a sense that Jordan Hancock was a pipe dream. There's no question there was the sense that they were very much in that. And now, yeah, as this starts to kind of get unpacked here, maybe it was a little more than we have a shot here. Maybe they knew, maybe they knew a little more here. Maybe they knew this was all coming. And, it's like I said, it's been building toward this slowly but surely. And it was just kind of a matter of, needing an event or some type of visit or whatever it was going to be, some type of happening for this to just kind of pop off. And we all thought it'd be the visit in the fall, but he's rolling with the decommitment right now. So, stay tuned on that, I guess, here the next, the coming days, maybe even, but certainly in the coming weeks. All right, let's move on to our camp on Saturday. The three of us were at the Fortress in Obetz. It's a, kind of a multi-purpose facility, stadium type of deal. The UC Elite Underclassmen camp was there. Some of the guys from ESPN and Under Armour were running the camp. Really good camp, a lot of talent from around the Midwest. We'll start with Mick on this. Mick, if you could point to maybe one or two guys that jumped out to you, what did you see on Saturday in terms of your top guys?
I think the guy that really came out from the start that everybody loved was C.J. Hicks, but truthfully, I was sort of watching a few of the other guys and didn't get to see much of him. So the one guy I really want to touch on is Drew Aller out of the Medina quarterback in 2022. Just watching him throw the ball was the best ball at the whole camp out of the quarterbacks. And as we all talked about there, it just looks effortless in every throw that he makes and everything he does when it comes to being a quarterback. And he's only been doing it for a little bit of time, a few years now, so he understands that he doesn't know it all, and he's very, very much a learner and absorbing all the knowledge he can, but he's also very confident in what he can do already.
Yeah, I think what I liked most about Drew is it was very easy. Some of these guys, when they're throwing the ball, it looks like, even if they have a really strong arm, it just looks like it's hard for them. Like it looks like they're really putting everything into the throw to get that type of velocity on the ball. And with Drew, it's very much, it's easy arm strength. It's kind of just a flick of the wrist. And I think that's what jumped out to me watching Drew here throw for the first time. I know, Bill, you had seen Drew previously. And I think maybe even saw him again like the next day. So, what were your impressions of Drew, and, is that a realistic guy for Ohio State? Kind of where do you think that stands right now in terms of Ohio State's, perspective? Is that a guy to watch this fall, or is it going to be tough for him?
Well, I think both. I think he's definitely a guy to watch. I think he has their attention. I've seen him like 3 times now in the past 10 days. Once was I intentionally went to see him. And then, we saw him last Saturday, of course, for the second time for me. And then the very next day, I was at a camp in Akron to see Mitchell Evans, and Drew was there throwing again, working on footwork, doing everything he needs to do. And, coming off a successful Saturday, at the camp, the underclass camp, he probably didn't really need to be right back out there on Sunday throwing and grinding. There he was. This kid wants it. So I love that. And he's got talent. He's got the height. He's got enough athletic ability to make plays in the pocket. He's not Braxton Miller, but he's not a statue either. The ball, like you say, and Mick said, it comes out so easy for him. He can drill it when he has to drill it. He's got touch when he needs to drop it over a linebacker. Then you ask, is it going to be tough for him? Yeah, it's going to be tough for him to get an Ohio State offer. They can go anywhere. It's Ryan Day right now, and they can go anywhere in America and get their quarterback. So Drew is not so much competing against, the Ohio crop, where I think he's the best in the state by far, with Chase Harrison in there at second. But Drew's competing against every quarterback in America right now. So it's going to be tough, and it should be tough. He has a handful of offers now. He's got a Pittsburgh offer, so he's on the Power 5 board. But, boy, you start barking up that Ohio State tree, especially when it's a position that they're really going to look to only take one every year. So Drew's got a long road ahead of him. I like where he's at right now. I like what I see right now. And he's put himself on the radar at Ohio State. They know about him. He's on the board. But, boy, the competition to get that Ohio State offer and be the guy in the 2022 class is going to be tough.
I think right now the 2022 quarterback situation is fascinating, not just at Ohio State, but around the country, because it's the one position where it's a weird dynamic, because on one hand, it's the one position where coaches pretty much insist on seeing these kids in person, but it's also the position that starts the earliest because you want to lock in your guy and help build the class around him. And so neither of those things have been able to happen right now. And so I think Ohio State's quarterback recruiting situation is kind of a thing where you just pick a name out of a hat at this point. You have just as much chance of being right as anyone else in terms of who they're going to end up with. I know who they'd like to end up with, Quinn Ewers out of Texas, but that's going to be obviously a tough national battle, and they're in it, but it's going to be an interesting dynamic there. Mick, I think we were both very high on Christian Gray, the 2023 defensive back out of St. Louis de Smet, same school as J.K. Johnson, Ohio State 2021 commit. What did you like from Christian, Mick, on Saturday?
Yeah, Bill knows this guy. I imagine most fans know this guy. Donald Cox is somebody that is a staple with the Under Armour brand, and he comes out to every camp. He works out all the guys. He specifically works with the DBs. He'll go to the Deion Sanders camp down in Texas. He'll go to the All-American Bowl, all the Under Armour camps. And I got a chance to talk with him a little bit afterwards, and I said, Donald, who was the guy that you thought was the best DB? Because I know he worked directly with him. And without a doubt, he said Christian Gray was the guy right off the bat. And I think that's an opinion that was held amongst most of the people that observed the camp. It's not just the skill that he has, because he's been very well taught over at De Smet by Coach Steeples and the coaches they have there. But also it's the things that you can't teach with him. He's got a ton of length, a good amount of size, and he's just a very smart kid. He's a reserve kid as well. He still doesn't know really how good he is yet, but he's definitely on the track to be probably I don't know how the state of St. Louis in 2023, but he's probably on track to be one of the top prospects. The state of Missouri. He's probably on track to be one of the top prospects, and he has a ton of upside that Ohio State's probably salivating over.
Yeah, I was at his school a couple weeks ago watching JK, and I was talking with Robert Steeples, who was the head coach over there, played in the NFL, big time DB guy. So when he talks about defensive backs, you listen. And I asked him kind of, personally, he hasn't been coaching that. He's kind of fresh out of the NFL. He's only been out of the league a couple of years. But I asked him, I'm like, have you really been around a guy like JK? Because he's been involved in the St. Louis high school scene for a bit. And he's like, well, I've got another one. And he pointed out Christian Gray. And so the thought over there is that Christian can be every bit as good as JK if he works as hard as JK has. So that's going to be one to watch, I think, the next couple of years for Ohio State fans, because he does like Ohio State quite a bit. He told me he loved watching Jeff Okudah. I kind of unprovoked. I just kind of asked him like what he watches on Saturdays when college football's on. He's like, I loved watching Jeff Okudah. And he's like, and then I got into the Cameron Brown. He didn't even know Cameron Brown was from St. Louis. He just was watching Ohio State, was watching Jeff Okudah, and Cameron Brown caught his eye. And then he found out that Cameron Brown was from St. Louis. And so Ohio State's got some ins there early on, and that's going to be interesting and kind of something to watch here. Bill, I'll kick this one out to you. Kind of asked Mick this a minute ago. What was your top takeaway, or one or two guys who just kind of blew you away on Saturday?
Well, I mean, CJ Hicks, put on a performance that was, reminiscent of maybe Josh Perry from about 7-8 years ago. I saw Ryan Shazier as a young guy in Florida. I mean, it was pretty sparkling what CJ did the other day, but it was kind of expected. We know he's a great athlete. What I really liked there were guys that would probably be considered, plan B guys in Ohio for 2022. I thought they all stepped up and showed that maybe they're plan B and a half guys, like DeLeon Bradley, Ryan Baer, Derek Shepard, who I think is more than a plan B to them. But, I hadn't seen these guys in over, in a year. And then to watch them all work out, those guys were all really good. And, I know you liked Ryan Baer too, and Ryan's grown. another inch. He's got the wingspan. Ryan just looks like a kid that he looks like an Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame type of offensive tackle. And he's going to have to prove it on the field. But I really like those guys, that group. Drew Aller was another one. Those guys, I think, are more than just plan B guys to me. They're probably plan B and a half guys now that we're going to have to watch over the next year. And I think you kind of said something like, you wouldn't be stunned to see Ryan Baer in the 2022 class at Ohio State. And I feel the same way. So it's going to be – originally I thought that the 2022 class would be really good, but maybe not that many OSU-type guys. But I think the second-level guys, I think they look the part right now, and they're going to have to show it on the field, obviously.
Yeah, I'm starting to like the depth in 22. Again, I don't – and maybe CJ, I shouldn't sell some of these guys short. I mean, maybe CJ Hicks can morph into this. He certainly has the athleticism too, but I'm not seeing a Paris Johnson, a Zach Harrison, a Jack Sawyer just yet. Guys who are just physical freaks at premium positions who, you know, especially like Paris and Jack's case, are dominant on Friday nights. I think Zach had a pretty good senior year as well. It's not to take anything away from Zach's high school production, but you know, I'm waiting for that type of guy. But like you mentioned, this next wave of guys is giving the class some depth. You know, you talked about Deleon Bradley and Ryan Baer and Derek Shepard. I would almost be surprised if like at least two of them aren't in the class at this point. I mean, I think Bradley is going to get an offer. And then I think at least one of Shepard and Baer are going to get an offer. I think when we look back on this, just because they're playing positions, you know, you're taking several offensive linemen, several defensive linemen, whatever. I think there's room for guys like that in the class, especially if they don't finish out on the offensive line the way they would like to here in 21. And they're showing those guys a lot of interest. They're, you know, Derek Shepard's on Zooms with Larry Johnson. I'll have a story on that here probably, you know, by the end of the day, Wednesday or Thursday morning. Ryan Baer's, you know, talking to Kennedy Cook on the Zoom chat. He's got a good relationship with Stud and Delia. I've said it on our site, on our message board. If you put a gun to my head and said, who's the next Ohio offer in 2022, I would say it's probably Deleon Bradley from what I've heard. So it's interesting right now in Ohio. I think we're seeing some depth, and you never know on depth until they, you know, junior year, you start to figure out what the depth of the class is in the state of Ohio. And I think we're starting to see some good signs there. You know, the one thing we want to kind of wrap up with is Mick headed straight from the Ohio camp on Saturday to Fort Wayne, Indiana for some basketball coverage. Mick, what event were you at? I believe you were there, got there, Saturday night, stayed overnight and did a lot of stuff on Sunday. You know, what were you there for and kind of what did you see?
Yeah, so I was there for primarily to see the Indy Heat team, which has both of Ohio State's 2021 commits, Michi Johnson and Kalen Etzer. A lot of people got to see Michi, obviously, his sophomore season, and Kalen played probably about half of his junior season, but nobody really has seen these guys live in a while. So I wanted to be able to just get eyes on them, see how they're doing, and just see how they were playing on a pretty loaded team. All their players on that AAU team have a Division I offer except for one, and 7 of them are already committed to programs, most in the Big Ten. I mean, they have a very talented roster, and I wanted to see how they stack up against top competition. And they lived up to everything. Anybody who's seen AAU basketball knows that it's a very fast-paced, sort of at times uncontrolled game of basketball. But Michi and Kalen both did a great job of being very unselfish and playing inside the confines of the offense. And that's how they got their buckets, and they got opportunities presented to them. But they also did a lot of things to help teammates, which was awesome to see on a competitive AAU team.
Yeah, I mean, how does Michi look physically? I mean, obviously he had the setback there, he had the knee injury, and now he's going to. I guess he's going to be back at Garfield Heights, I believe, right? For his next upcoming season. But you know, how does he look health wise, and kind of, you know, where, you know, where's the jump shot? I mean, kind of give us a little bit of what you saw from Michi specifically.
Yeah, so Michi really, before he got injured, was his style of play would have fit perfectly in this AAU setting where it's real fast paced, but he's worked on slowing it down and being able to play in a half court setting, which is obviously what I don't need to do in college. His knee's perfectly fine. I mean, he's moving around great. He's added about 3 to 4 inches since post injury, and he's added about 20 pounds of really muscle to, especially his lower body, his quads, because he's trying to ensure that there's no further injuries down to his knees. But his play was very solid. He was just, like I said, he was inside the confines of the offense a lot, and that it was really nice to see. He dished out to his teammates often. When he got the shot, it was knocked down. I think I saw him miss maybe one 3-point shot in all of the games I saw him, all three of them.
Yeah, so, they're going to be relying on him, I think. He's always been kind of, when I've watched him, kind of a scoring guard, combo guard, whatever. And I think Ohio State's hoping he can be a lead point guard. Do you think so it sounds like you think he's made some progress on that. You think he's trending in the right direction towards being a point guard at the next level?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. He's got some very athletic shooting guards on the AAU team that he plays with that are more fit and have more length and are more fit to play that shooting guard position. So he doesn't necessarily have a role as a shooting two guard. So he's definitely in the position where he's going to be more of a point guard, more of an assist man, and where he's also going to have times to get his own shot. And that's why him and Kalen play so well together in a pick and pop, pick and roll type situation. Between him, Kalen, and Malachi Branham, I mean, Ohio State either has committed or is chasing probably three of the top three contenders for Ohio's Mr. Basketball in 2020 and 2021. And Malachi's a guy that we should be hearing more on soon. I just got some word on that last night, and I want to we'll lock some more stuff down before we put it out, but there should be some news coming from him soon.
So that's obviously very little teaser there for to get on the website here and kind of maybe hear some more on that later. We'll talk about Etzler here real quick. What did you see from him? What type he's a guy I haven't seen him. What type of player is Kalen Etzler?
So I think he's probably just a tad bit below where a guy like sort of Keita Bates-Diop when he came into Ohio State was very refined and sort of fit into a position. He just had one breakout year because he constantly got injured. Kalen's sort of in that stretch four, pick and pop guy at the power forward position that is going to be able to handle the ball, shoot the three, post up when he needs to, play defense on the 3, the 4, maybe even the 2 if he needed to. He's a very good athlete he's just a very good athlete at the 4 spot. He can do a lot of things, and it shows on the court. He's very unselfish when it comes to he'll screen, he'll make sure he passes off to other teammates. He'll help run plays. He's very very technical on the defensive side of the court, which is nice to see. He had, I think, at each game I saw all three of them, he had multiple blocks in a game, which is good for a guy that isn't overly lengthy. He's probably about 6'7", 6'8", but he was still able to get around the ball and make block shots.
Yeah, so with that said, I mean, what's next for you? I know, I think you're heading somewhere else here after we stop recording here. What do you have coming up for us?
Yeah, so tonight, tomorrow, yesterday when everybody listens to this podcast probably, but Wednesday night I'll be heading to Dayton, catch a little bit of another open run, open gym type of setting. A few guys that are probably Ohio State level. Well, I'll take that back. There's some 2023s that could be on Ohio State's level, and Laurent Rice, who I wrote about a little bit ago. But it's more just really sort of getting out and see these guys, build these connections. And then as for what I have next this weekend, I'm going to add a few more stops. Malachi Branham's actually playing in Indianapolis, so I want to catch up with him. I might find a way to stop up or find it another day to go into Fort Wayne and see Kalen and meet you one more time. And then there's a huge Nike basketball tournament in Northern Ohio this weekend that'll have a lot of Ohio State's 2022 guys they're looking at. I don't believe Bowen Hardman will be there, but guys like Sean Jones, AJ Clayton, some smaller upside prospects that Ohio State's really considering heavily right now will be playing. So those 3 stops I'm looking forward to hit this weekend. Hopefully I can find the time to really work all 3 of them in.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your effort, Mick. You've been all over the place here the last couple months, so we'll look forward to reading some of your stuff again on BuckeyeScoop.com. But we're we're going to sign off at this point. We've went, I think we've got a good 20, 25 minutes here. So that's about where we want to be generally. So we'll wrap things up here. We appreciate everybody listening. There's lots of stuff up on the site right now. Bill just put out a bank blog on the kind of the college football landscape right now, what he's hearing in terms of the challenges being faced in getting the season in this fall and what he's hearing on that front. I'm going to have some more recruiting updates. Mick's going to have some stuff as well. We got and Alex Gleitman has Jerry Ferrara on. So it's been an interesting day or 24 hours or so for content, and we hope you check it out. And thanks, and we'll catch you next time.